It seems like things are finally starting to turn around for Cyberpunk 2077. There's a few different factors going into this, including a recent announcement made by CD Projekt Red, but also on the side of player reactions, and it seems like we're almost setting up for a pretty huge next few months for Cyberpunk, including perhaps a pretty huge next 24 hours. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. As I'm sure many of you heard earlier in 2021, CD Projekt Red was sued by its investors. The investors claiming that they were misled by comments made by CD Projekt Red on the state of Cyberpunk 2077 prior to its release. This has been ongoing for a while, and we just heard recently how CDPR were actually trying to get the case dismissed outright. But now, just yesterday, we did get another pretty interesting update on this, and perhaps even a bit of a surprising one. As CD Projekt Red does report, on December 8th, 2021, it received notification from the law firm representing the company in the case to the effect that the court has suspended proceedings concerning the motion to dismiss due to the parties having entered into negotiations concerning a potential settlement. Should a consensus be reached with regard to the condition of the potential settlement, the parties will file for approval by the court. The decision on whether to approve the settlement and to permit its implementation shall be issued by the court when certain additional formal conditions are satisfied. It should also be noted that entering into negotiations concerning a potential settlement should in no way be construed as acceptance by the company or members of its management board of any allegations expressed in the plaintiff's court filings. So basically, CDPR and the people suing them, their investors, are trying to settle, and seemingly this is not necessarily CDPR admitting that they are at fault in any way or guilty of anything. It seems like this could actually be a really good thing and a huge step in the right direction for CD Projekt Red, especially if this gets finished off before the end of this year. Now, whether or not you think this should happen or if this is the morally correct decision is a completely separate argument. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of CD Projekt Red. But really, CD Projekt Red is already starting to put the bad behind them with Cyberpunk 2077. Public opinion is shifting on the game, and having this lawsuit being done with and not extend into a court battle with things being revealed, a bunch of coverage about what they did wrong, what they admitted, etc., is overall going to be a super positive thing for the company. Following the Black Friday sales for Cyberpunk, it has been booming. The player count on Steam nearly doubled in the past couple of months. Right now, on Steam, they're averaging about 20,000 players and getting close to 30,000 players on weekends. It's not like this was a singular peak. Things are holding. It's been 2 weeks now, and things are still going really well with this game player count-wise. And even a bit better is on Xbox, Cyberpunk 2077 just today or yesterday popped back into the top 50 most played games on Xbox. Granted, right now it's at position 50, so literally the last of the 50, but the last time we actually saw the game get this amount of players was in early May. So this would suggest that on Xbox, Cyberpunk is hitting an 8-month player count high, despite not actually getting a major update since August. This is literally just people trying the game out on sale, and it's not just people trying out the game, but there's been an overwhelming amount of positive reactions to the game. The review scores have only continued to increase over the past couple of weeks. The most easy example is on Steam, but really across all platforms, you just see a ton of positive sentiment, including a ton of positive Reddit posts of people being like, wait, why did everyone say this game was so bad, etc. And CDPR just put it on sale yet again this weekend, so you could find it 50% off again right now. It seems like this is just going to be for this weekend, but it is 50% off everywhere if you're still trying to decide whether or not to try the game. And it was even nominated for 2 Game of the Year awards. That award show is happening tonight. One of them is for Best Music and Score, and the other one is for the Best Role-Playing. I could definitely see it winning for Best Music and Score. A lot of people loved the score of Cyberpunk Best Role-Playing. Not sure about that one. Not sure I even agree with the nomination on that one, but that's a different story. And this does put us in an interesting perspective because we have 2 nominations for this game. I think there's a pretty good shot it could win the score nomination. And even further, it is on sale right now, seemingly to coincide with this event, or perhaps just because the last sale was so successful. But could this be setting up for some kind of trailer at the Game Awards? In the past, CDPR did mention that when they were planning to have their next-gen version release and this next big update, there probably would be some increased marketing. Obviously, that's not happening until next year, but if it is happening in January, a Game Awards trailer could be huge, showing off whatever they've been working on because it's been a pretty long time now. But overall, whether you want to agree with it or not, we are definitely seeing the narrative start to shift around Cyberpunk. People are getting their hands on the game more so than they have in a while. We again are hitting player count highs for about a 7-8 month period right now, and those players are loving enjoying what they're playing. People are having a ton of fun with this game. Granted, the vast majority of these people are not playing on last-gen consoles, but it definitely seems like we're setting the stage for CDPR to potentially have a massive intro into 2022. If they get things right with the next-gen version, if it really delivers, if patch 1.5 addresses some of those major issues or concerns, this could be huge. I would have thought that them taking a 6-7 month break between patches would have been a huge mistake, but obviously things are going really well. A lot of people are playing this game despite CDPR not really doing anything outside of putting it on sale, making it more accessible to more people. That is literally the driving factor behind the vast majority of this positive news. So definitely an interesting situation, but it's not actually the only thing I wanted to talk about. Just recently, CDPR did do an interview, or two members of CDPR did an interview with Story Mode, this going over some of the narrative design, the first person perspective, and a few other things with Cyberpunk, and I wanted to highlight it here. I'll have a link to the full hour-plus interview if you are interested, but a few of the big takeaways. They do explain why they went first person. This was a huge controversy with the game, especially as people initially started playing it. On a personal note, I never had a huge issue here. I kind of liked the first person perspective in Cyberpunk, never bothered me. They mentioned how the reason they did this was, to a lesser degree, just to challenge themselves, grow and go somewhere different after The Witcher 3, but that was definitely the lesser of the reasons. One of the other reasons was to tell a subjective story. In Cyberpunk, your body is a prison. It's one of the major themes of the game, and freeing yourself is a major objective. Some of the moments and scenes don't convey the same sense of trappedness in third person as they would in first person. The execution, they felt, was just way better when you were only in the first person perspective. As well as playing in first person allows somebody to better experience those subjective story moments and interactions. You have way more direct interactions with others. Going beyond that, they talk about the half-year montage, and a lot of people were pretty frustrated with this one, that being that montage early in the game with V's interactions with Jackie. They describe how it was never actually content. A ton of people thought this was a ton of cut content, they just turned into a montage rather than implementing it. They describe here that was never the plan or the case. Explain how expanding the story at this point doesn't really work and help with their overall story goals. How the action properly starts with the heist and getting the chip, and in turn your relationship with Johnny, and how the game is really focused around that. They explain how the sequence with Jackie would all be before that, and they feel wouldn't really add to the game. There'd be no real intention to the sequence, just earning some money on the side and be fairly linear because the game does have a predetermined story after it. So now, whether you agree with that, disagree with that, that is their thought process and their reasoning. I completely disagree. Granted, I'm not a narrative designer on stories, I'm not writing much, so what do I know? I think the intro montage, if we actually got to experience, would have done a ton for making you feel actually bred Midnight City, like you actually were kind of becoming integrated into one part of this area as you were doing jobs here or interacting with people in this specific area, getting to the weeds of these locations, but also it definitely would have made you feel way more attached to Jackie. For me, in my first playthrough, I literally could care less about Jackie. I actively was trying to kill him.
I don't know.
Can we just kill Jackie?
Container depressurized. Biochip integrity at 94%.
Just put it in your head, buddy.
Fucking drop it. Carajo.
Well, put it in my head. Screw this guy.
Parker!
I wish I could have killed him and screwed him over, taken all the money for myself. Maybe I'm just a bad person, but I didn't really care what happened to him. I have a feeling I would have felt vastly different if we did have this montage as a playable moment and I got to know him a bit better. Either way, it definitely is nice to get the context from the developers themselves as to why they made this decision, regardless of whether you agree with it, disagree with it. Also, if it was still left up in the air, this conversation does really enforce that this game will never have fully supported third-person perspective from CDPR. It's designed with first person in mind. They view that as integral, so third person's basically never coming, although we kind of already knew that. Either way, an interesting moment with Cyberpunk. I think this will be a moment we look back on, because right now the stage is being set for a big recovery for CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk specifically. Now, will that end up delivering? Will patch 1.5, the next gen version, really succeed and bring us to new heights, or will it kind of flounder, be yet another disappointing or lackluster patch? We don't know yet, but the next few months will definitely be interesting with this game, and I definitely will be keeping you all up to date with whatever happens. With that said, as always, again, I thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.